The battles of Kawanakajima were fought in the Sengoku period of Japan between Takeda Shingen of Kai Province and Uesugi Kenshin of Echigo Province, in the plain of Kawanakajima, the island between the rivers, in the north of Shinano Province. The location is in the southern part of the present-day city of Nagano. 5 major battles took place there: Fuse in 1553, Saigawa in 1555, Uenohara in 1557, Hachimanbara in 1561, and Shiozaki in 1564. The best known and most severe among them was fought on September 10, 1561, and was only fought in the heart of the Kawanakajima plain, thus being the Battle of Kawanakajima. The battles were fought after Shingen conquered Shinano Province, expelling Ogasawara Nagatoki and Murakami Yoshikyo, who subsequently turned to Kenshin for help. The battles became one of the most cherished tales in Japanese military history, the epitome of Japanese chivalry and romance, mentioned in epic literature, woodblock printing and movies. Background: the battles were part of the 16th century Sengoku period, also known as the Age of Civil War, and were little different from other conflicts. After the Onan War, the shogun's system and taxation had increasingly lower control outside the province of the capital in Kyoto, and powerful lords began to take control of self-defense as well as self-interest. Such lords gained power by usurpation, warfare or marriage, any means that would safeguard the position. It was manifested in Yamajiro, which overlooked the provinces. In 1541, Shingen began his conquest of Shinano Province. In 1550, Shingen advanced once again into Shinano, and quickly conquered Hayashi Castle, Kiribara and Fukashi Castle controlled by Ogasawara Nagatoki, who fled to Murakami Yoshikyo. In October 1550, Shingen began the sieges of Toishi Castle, from which position could do the final attack on the main Murakami castle of Katsureo. However, in November the siege was abandoned and Shingen army was counterattacked by Murakami, making it almost a disaster. In the next year, Murakami was forced to leave the castle, and followed the successful siege of Katsureo. First battle. In the First Battle of Kawanakajima, also known as the Battle of Fuse, was fought in 1553. Although regarded as the first battle, it is related to the 2 battles of Hachiman fought in the same year south of the plain. 12 days after taking Katsureo Castle, Shingen penetrated far into the Kawanakajima plain along the eastern bank of Chickamauga River. Uesugi Kenshin marched up the western bank to support Murakami Yoshikyo, and the 2 armies encountered each other at a shrine of Hachiman on June 3, 1553. After Takeda withdrew, Uesugi continued his march and laid siege to Katsura, but was unable to capture it. In September, Takeda returned to crush the remaining Murakami forces around Shiodai. Wada was taken on September 8 and Takashima on the 10th. In both cases, the entire garrison was put to death as a warning to other Murakami holdouts. Murakami Yoshikyo retreated from Shiodai on the 12th of September, and about 16 of the clan's outposts in Shinano surrendered to Takeda. Shingen pursued Yoshikyo across the Chickamauga River but was turned back by Kenshin's reinforcements at the Battle of Fuse. Kenshin pursued Shingen, winning another battle at Hachiman. The victorious Uesugi forces went on to take Karato Castle before winter forced both sides to disengage. Second Battle. From August to November 1555, the Second Battle of Kawanakajima, also known as the Battle of Saigawa, began when Takeda Shingen returned to Kawanakajima, advancing up to the Sai River. He made camp on a hill to the south of the river, while Uesugi Kenshin was camped just east of the Sengoku Temple, which provided him an excellent view of the plain. However, the Kurita clan, allies of the Takeda, held Asahiyama fortress a few kilometers to the west. They menaced the Uesugi right flank. Kurita Kakuju's defenses were bolstered by 3,000 Takeda warriors, of whom 800 were archers and 300 arquebusiers. The main battle was almost shadowed by the Kenshin's number of attacks against the Asahiyama fortress, but all were repulsed. Eventually he moved his army onto the plain, redirecting his attention on Takeda's main force. However, rather than attacking, both armies waited, for months, for the other to make a move. Finally, battle was avoided as both leaders retired to deal with domestic affairs in the home provinces. Third Battle. The Third Battle, also known as the Battle of Uenohara, took place in 1557 when Takeda Shingen captured a fortress called Katsurayama, overlooking the Sengoku Temple from the northwest. He then attempted to take Iyama Castle, but withdrew after Uesugi Kenshin led an army out of Sengoku. Of the four, this battle took place furthest from the Kawanakajima plain. Fourth Battle. The Fourth Battle resulted in greater casualties for both sides, as a percentage of total forces, than any other battle in the Sengoku period, and is, according to Turnbull, one of the most tactically interesting battles of the period as well. After besieging the Hojo-Uji Yasuzadawara Castle, Uesugi Kenshin was forced to withdraw after hearing rumors about the movement of Takeda Shingen's army. In September 1561, Kenshin left his Kashugayama castle with 18,000 warriors, determined to destroy Shingen. He left some of his forces at Sengoku, but took up a position on Saigoyama, a mountain to the west of and looking down upon Shingen's Kaizu Castle. To Kenshin's ignorance, the Kaizu Castle contained no more than 150 samurai and the followers, and he had taken them completely by surprise. However, the general in command of the castle, Kosaka Masanobu, through a system of signal fires, informed his lord, in Tsujigasaki Fortress, 130 kilometers away in Kofu, of Kenshin's move. Shingen left Kofu with 16,000 men, acquiring 4,000 more as he traveled through Shinano Province, approaching Kawanakajima on the west bank of the Chickamauga, keeping the river between him and Saigoyama. Neither army made a move, knowing that victory would require the essential element of surprise. Shingen was thus allowed into his fortress at Kaizu along with his Gumbugyo Yamamoto Kansuke. At the time, Kansuke formed a strategy that he believed would prove effective against Kenshin. Kosaka Masanobu left Kaizu with 8,000 men, advancing up Saigoyama under cover of night, intending to drive Kenshin's army down to the plain where Takeda Shingen would be waiting with another 8,000 men in Kakuyoku's, or Crane's Wing, formation. However, whether via spies in Kaizu or scouts looking down from Saigoyama, Kenshin guessed Shingen's intentions, and led his own men down to the plain. Kenshin descended from Saigoyama by its western flanks. Instead of fleeing Kosaka's dawn attack, Uesugi Kenshin's army crept down the mountain, quietly using bits of cloth to deaden the noise of the horses' hooves. With the beginning of dawn, Shingen's men surprisingly found Kenshin's army ready to charge at them, as opposed to fleeing from the mountain. As expected, Uesugi's forces attacked in waves, in a kuruma Nagakari formation, in which every unit is replaced by another as it becomes weary or destroyed. Leading the Uesugi vanguard were two of Uesugi's 28 generals, Kakizaki Keiji and Irob Katsunaga. Kakizaki's unit of mounted samurai clashed into Takeda Nobushige's unit, resulting in the unfortunate loss of Nobushige. While the Kakuyoku formation held surprisingly well, the Takeda commanders eventually fell, one by one. Seeing that his pincer plan had failed, Yamamoto Kansuke charged alone into the massive Uesugi samurai, suffering upwards of 80 bullet wounds before retiring to a nearby hill and performing seppuku. Eventually, the Uesugi forces reached the Takeda command post, and one of the most famous single combats in Japanese history ensued. Uesugi Kenshin himself burst into the headquarters, attacking Takeda Shingen, who, unprepared for such an event, parried with his signaling fan as best as he could, and held Kenshin off long enough for one of his retainers, Hara Osume no Kami, to spear Kenshin's mount and drive him off. The Takeda main body held firm, despite fierce rotating attacks by the Uesugi. Obusaburohei fought back against Kakizaki's samurai. Anayama Nobukumi destroyed Shibata Harunaga of Echigo, and forced the Uesugi main force back to the Chikumigawa. Meanwhile, Kozaka's stealth force reached the top of Saigawa and, finding the Uesugi position deserted, hurried down the mountain to the ford, taking the same path they had expected the fleeing Uesugi to take. After desperate fighting, they punched the way through the 3,000 Uesugi warriors defending the ford, and pressed on to aid Takeda's main force. The Kozaka force then attacked the retreating Uesugi from the rear. Takeda Shingen's many great generals, including his younger brother Takeda Nobushige and Murazume Masakyo, were killed in the field. Result: in the end, the Uesugi army suffered 72% casualties, while the Takeda lost 62%. The chronicles seem to indicate that the Takeda made no effort to stop the Uesugi from retreating after the battle, burning the encampment at Saigawa, returning to Zenkoji, and then to Echigo province. Some more conservative estimates place the casualties around 20%. Fifth battle. In September 1564, Shingen and Kenshin met for the fifth time on the plain of Kawanakajima. The forces skirmished for 60 days, and then both withdrew. Another encounter near Lake Nojiri in 1568 could be labeled as the sixth battle, but it isn't considered as such. In popular culture, the rivalry between the two warlords was documented in the Japanese movie Heaven and Earth, which features the fourth battle as the film's climax. The fourth battle is also one of the most pivotal moments for many TV dramas centered on Shingen's life, such as Furin Kazan. It is featured in the climax of the film's Samurai Banners, as the fourth battle between Shingen and Kenshin was the most famous among all of them. It is one of the early stages in the Samurai Warriors series, because of the one-on-one fight between Shingen and Kenshin. Shingen's weapon is a Dansen no Chiwa. In both PC games Shogun Total War and its sequel Total War Shogun 2, one of the historical battles is the fourth Kawanakajima. In Sengoku Basara anime, the first battle ends in a stalemate. The second battle ends with both Uesugi and Takeda forces retreating in the face of Hideyoshi's forces, while the third battle ends with Takeda victory. Shingen was going to execute Kenshin when Ieyasu arrives to offer their alliance for his dream. The 5 battles are referenced in Pokémon Conquest, in which Kenshin and Shingen share a similar rivalry and settle it with a bet. The first to take 5 kingdoms from their opponent is the victor. The battles of Kawanakajima were depicted and heavily implied in the plot of a case in the manga and anime franchise Detective Conan, as well as the 24 generals of Takeda Shingen. Furthermore, police officers in the Nagano Police Department in the series created a secret group in which the members had similar names to those of the 24 generals. The case linked the Kawanakajima topic with woodpeckers.